In this video, I want to have a look at the least squares line of best fit again, but this time I want to have a look at some shortcuts on your calculator. So in the last video, we had to calculate 5 different values. We needed the correlation coefficient, the standard deviation of both sets of data, and the mean of both sets of data as well, and then we had to plug it all into our formulas. You still need to know how to do that. Just because you've got these shortcuts doesn't mean you can forget it, because sometimes in an exam they'll specifically ask you to do it by finding each of those pieces of information. But if it doesn't, and even if it does, this is a good way to check your answer. So we're going to use still that top part of the formula. We're going to still have to figure out the gradient and the y-intercept. But on your calculator, you've got 2 buttons. One has the letter A on it, and it represents the y-intercept, and one has the letter B, and it represents the gradient. Just be really careful. We've used B before in our general form of an equation to represent the y-intercept, so make sure that you don't get confused with the 2 of these things. Okay, so A is the y-intercept and B is the gradient. Alright, so let's have a look at an example. Our example says that a group of 12 people measured their reaction times with both their dominant and their non-dominant hands, and we've got all the numbers in the table underneath. It asks us to calculate the equation of the least squares regression line. So we're going to figure out the gradient and the y-intercept. So remember that on your calculator, the y-intercept is represented by the letter A and the gradient is represented by the letter B. So on your calculator, those letters are just above the A and the bracket key. So you've got the A here and the B here. So we're going to need to enter all our data in like we have been doing before with commas in between them all. So we're going to go make sure it's in the right stats mode, and then enter it all in. Okay, so once all our data's in there, because we want that A for the gradient and the B for the y-intercept, doesn't matter which order you fig them out in, but we're going to go alpha A equals, so that's our y-intercept is 0.395 if we go to 3 decimal places, and our gradient, so if we go alpha B equals, we'll end up with about 0.79 to 3 decimal places. 0.79. Okay, so then our formula is y is equal to the gradient. I missed a 0 in there, sorry. Is equal to the gradient, so 0.079 times x plus the y-intercept, so 0.395. So that there is the equation of the least squares line of best fit.